President William Ruto has pledged the government's support for families of 41 people who died during the anti-taxation bill protest. While offering his sympathy to the affected, the president also wished quick recovery to 361 injured victims, terming the deaths and injuries as unfortunate. Meanwhile, 25 human rights groups in the country are demanding the prosecution of police commanders over the handling of the protests.
The government has finally acknowledged the demise of dozens of Kenyans at the height of anti-taxation protests. The president has publicly offered his sympathy to the families of the 41 people who lost their lives.
To the mothers, fathers, siblings, relatives, and friends of those who lost their lives, my deepest sympathies and condolences to you all.
I want my grandson.
In his televised address to the nation Friday, President Ruto acknowledged the pain and agony that many Kenyans have endured in the past 2 weeks and promised that the government will support all those injured.
To the many others who are injured and recuperating, I wish them quick recovery. The government of Kenya will support all those who've lost their lives and those who've been injured.
The president's message came moments after a consortium of 25 human rights groups on Friday urged the government to publicly apologize and compensate families of the deceased.
We further call on the government, with His Excellency President William Ruto, taking leadership to 1. Acknowledge the violations suffered by victims during the protests and initiate measures to provide effective remedies to address the physical and psychological harms they have suffered.
Speaking in Nairobi, representatives of the groups have called for the prosecution of police commanders for allegedly failing to avert deaths linked to their juniors.
Security officers in command positions should be held individually liable if they knew or ought to have known that their subordinates were involved in or planned to use unlawful force.
They asked Interior Cabinet Secretary and the National Police Service to address claims of abductions and intimidation and release all people arrested for participating in the protests. They've also asked the Independent Policing and Oversight Authority to fast-track investigations of officers accused of police brutality.
Cease all abductions, enforced and involuntary disappearances. 2. Cease surveillance, threat and intimidation of human rights defenders and civil society actors.
To fast-track investigations and initiate prosecutions against individuals who are liable for the unlawful use of excessive force and lethal weapons.
Joseph Ohungu reporting for Easy Friday.